conditions. So we learned a lot of things on game day. The really big thing was that people don't read the instructions. You can make two different things with controls. You can have a screen dedicated to it that they have to go through before you play, and they won't read any of it. So you have to make the game so that just by screwing around with it, they can figure out how to play it. And we didn't do that as well as we could have. One of the things was, every time someone tried to play this game, they'd go straight to the keyboard, both hands on the keyboard, even though half the game is mouse controlled. So either we would have to somehow convey the idea that you have to use the mouse, or just let them use the keyboard, which we might be able to do by selecting units by scrolling through them with tab or something like that. A couple of players had trouble telling the difference between the units they could control and the units they were supposed to be stopping. We have I gave them a kind of art style where the player units looked one way and the enemy units looked another way, but it didn't really come across very easily. And also, players didn't realize that you could rotate the light source. They didn't realize you could change the focus unless you told them to. So that's like a major game mechanic, and it's very useful for redirecting the light, and people had trouble working with that. So what we could have done was have units spawn with variable angles, so you can see that it's not always just pointing right. And also, our victory conditions were unclear. People would be playing and they didn't realize, since they didn't read instructions, that if they don't have lit up units, they'll lose after 5 seconds. So halfway through the day, we actually implemented a thing that makes the screen go dark as it starts to lose. So that helps a little bit. The biggest problem was that our units were just really hard to control. Paul is doing a good job because obviously he helped make the game in controlling the units, but for someone who's just picking this up, it's kind of tricky to get things to do what you want them to do. So in order to have a better game, I think we would have to make it super intuitive. We would have to make it so that people who aren't even used to playing strategy games would be able to figure out the controls easily. And the units were so hard to control that even if we'd implemented extremely simple AI, the game would suddenly become so hard that even we couldn't beat it. Because if we had the eyes do something like split up, that would be it. Or move away from light, based on the light field, it would become very difficult, because then you'd have to control units with a lot of precision. So yeah, we didn't realize that was going to be such a huge problem, but it was. But one thing that I personally learned on game day was that adding features while people are playing it out in the hall is really fun. So as I mentioned, we added the thing where the game goes dark, and we added the little bars on the top that indicate whether you're winning or losing, and some other stuff like that, because we could see that people were having trouble with that. We also added sound, finally, at the end. So it was fun to know that you're just like right on the edge. One person is playing the game, and you see a problem with it, and you're in the lab. Change the code, upload it. Now the next person doesn't have that problem. So that was cool. So yeah, that's it for that. Let's see. Do you have any questions?
Are your levels randomly generated, or are they pre-timed?
Both. So what it is the shapes of the obstacles on the screen are randomly generated, but their positions aren't.
So you could say your game was taking on a genetic algorithm as you.
Yes.
That was the AI in your game, right? Was that not the?
No, it's real intelligence.
Yes.
It's us. Any other questions?
Yeah, it's good getting the feedback from the people and then being able to make some changes to it. That's something, you know, hopefully other groups did, you know, possibly with other people outside of the class, trying to get the feedback so that they would know. One thing that you can do is sort of force the users to go through a little tutorial. You know, something that shows them a game going on, and you could have like a voice or text appearing on the screen when somebody's doing some action like opening the lens up or closing the lens down or rotating, and telling them exactly this is how it's done. And hopefully from that they could, you know, get some realization of what it is they're supposed to do in order to control things going on within the game. But it is the case. People don't read the manual.
So what do you think is the possibility of developing, I guess, controls that are accurate and responsive and manageable enough to allow the player to stand a chance against some more reasonable AI?
I'm not totally sure. There are a couple things in our control system that I know are just flat out broken, or because we made them so that they would be broken. But I imagine you just take some playing around with it.
And do you guys plan on continuing to develop this? This is I guess, a personal project?
I think I will, at least. Yes.
Yeah, we put it on Android actually. Really a hard things for Android.
So, any sequels in the pipeline?
Light and Shade 3, the search for Light and Shade 2.
It's more just a comment, but something that I think might help you guys address some of that, the interaction problems, would actually be porting to something that allows touch. Because it just, from the idea of just rotating, kind of pinching to stretch the lens width and things like that, moving, selecting with multiple fingers, it just, the game itself just looks like it's screaming for your fingers to be the interaction method versus keyboard and mouse. Because I can see how WASD kind of seems counterintuitive for just doing rotations and things.
I originally planned to do some of the things with this, like the focusing of the scroll wheel, but we just never got around to moving over to that.
It's going to end up being a cool iPad.
Yeah. I could definitely see this being a good multi-touch problem.
Any other comments? Okay, let's thank them.